So this year, as the SAC commissioner, is kind of my goal to have a lot more projects than we have in the previous years, or at least work on more than I have in the previous years. So my first year I served as a SAC senator, specifically for U Fund, and then last year I served as the vice commissioner of SAC. So this year, taking the step up and being commissioner was a bigger step than I was expecting, but I really wanted to kind of tweak the work that the past two commissioners have done. So Charlotte Klimovich totally revamped SAC so that it's sustainable, and also it's a constant resource for students. And then last year, Eleanor Holbrook kind of helped lead the way as well. She made audits a thing again. We kind of fell off the grid with audits in the years prior to that. So this year it was kind of my role, I felt, to tweak the system that those two had so wonderfully put together, and then kind of make sure that SAC would be sustainable in the future. So the biggest project that I was able to work on this year was, or I guess projects that I was able to work on this year, was to create the audit team that we're still kind of working on, but I'm really excited to see the progress that they're making, as well as developing semesterly funding as opposed to annual funding, because I think this will be a lot more helpful for student organizations who either going through a change of exec board, or they don't know what events they're going to have a year in advance. Yeah, so SAC is the funding branch of Student Senate. So we are one of the currently 13 commissions, and our responsibility is to allocate around $500,000 for student organizations to put on events, either on campus through U Fund, or people also choose to travel to conferences or competitions with our funding. I think so. I was lucky enough to be able to go to, last year I spent a lot of time going to conferences, so I was able to go to OSGS, which was in Akron, and that's the Ohio Student Government Summit. And there we were able to collaborate with a lot of other student orgs. And then I was also able to go to ASGA, which was in Philadelphia. So that was really cool to be able to talk to student government professionals there and talk about the way that other schools around the country do SAC funding. But I think the most helpful was this past year, I was the conference chair for the Ohio Student Government Association's first general body meeting in at least 2 years. So that was where we really candidly brought every student government from the state of Ohio, well, public student governments from the state of Ohio, to OU, and we were able to talk about SAC funding and the way that they do it. So that was really cool. I also happened to be writing my thesis on SAC funding, so I'm hopefully going to have some really good advice or research to back up how Ohio University should then be distributing funds as the state of Ohio is kind of cutting their budget. So I guess the biggest ongoing challenge is we really don't have enough money to sustain all of the student orgs that want the money that they need to have their events. So the past 2 years, we have spent pretty aggressively, and we have to tell a lot of student organizations no, just because we don't have the money to provide, we don't have the resources to provide them with what they need. So I think the biggest challenge is just budgeting and telling student organizations, like, we understand, like, this is helpful for your student organization, but we don't think that this is the best source of funds because we are so limited. And the past 2 years I've been working on a project to increase our budget, and unfortunately we haven't been successful in that so far, but hopefully at one point we are able to figure out a way that SAC can increase our funds so we can give even more money for programming efforts and make the campus more robust in its programming. So I guess to answer the first question, do I see my role changing? I actually had a conversation this past week that we really hope that it doesn't change in the next couple years, because myself and the past two commissioners, Charlotte and Eleanor, have done so much work to make SAC sustainable that we think that us leaving, we're in a very good place to make sure that SAC is functioning and well run. The only way that I could see it changing is if we have a budget increase and then for some reason our funding structure changes. But even then, we'll always need SAC so student organizations can put on their events. My advice for people in Senate would be, do your role, be there and make sure you're doing your role to the best of your ability, but also branch out and work with other commissions. Some of the best work that I've done in Senate has been with other people, not only in SAC, but the executives and other commissioners and just other senators. And I think having interdisciplinary work with other commissioners just makes the product so much better. And I think SAC being included in a lot of commissioners' projects just makes it, we have a different perspective than most senators and commissioners do. So I think just work together and make sure you're branching out and just doing the best that you can possibly do.